What's up with it? You watching the Big Bomber TV? And yeah, we about to check out this video from the YouTube channel Rap Thread. And the title is From 100 Million to Zero, How Rick Ross Blew All His Money. Yeah, man, that's a fool with it, man. Since that video surfaced to Rick Ross at the airport or whatever, man, they been going in on him, man. I know 50 having a field day, man. 50 been saying Ross broke since he found out he was doing his own landscaping and cutting his own grass and stuff. Yeah, man, personally, man, I don't know if Rick Ross really went broke, but yeah, man, there's been a few folks on his head, though, for real, though. But yeah, man, I haven't checked out the video. Don't completely know what they talking about, but let's check it out and see what they talking about.
Rick Ross, the man who spent the better part of 2 decades telling everybody on planet Earth how rich he was, how many cars he had, how many mansions he owned, how many wings were on his private jet. The man who built an entire rap career, an entire persona on the foundation of being untouchably wealthy. That same man just got caught flying economy class. Oh my God. Let that land for a second. Rick Ross, economy class, middle seat energy, tray table down. No cap. The internet absolutely lost its mind when those photos hit. And we're going to get into every single detail of that situation.
I ain't gonna lie, man. Ross say his jet or whatever was getting something done to it. But yeah, man, if he the biggest boss or whatever, like he be saying, man, shouldn't he book the private jet or something then? You know what I mean?
And his response, which I'm not even lying to you, might be the funniest thing I've heard in years. But that's not even the full story. Because on top of getting caught in economy, his concert tickets are not selling. And I do not mean they are selling slowly. I mean they ran a buy one, get one free promotion. And people still were not buying. Think about that for a second. They're literally giving tickets away and fans are still saying no thank you. This is where it gets insane, fan. Because this is a man who was genuinely worth $100 million at his peak. $100 million. And somehow, some way, the biggest boss has gone from living at the absolute top of the rap game to catching flights in row 27 and begging fans to come to his shows with discount codes. How does that happen? Where did the money go? And what does it tell us about everything Rick Ross has been selling us for the last 20 years? Y'all are not ready for this breakdown. Let's get into it right now. All right, so first things first, let me break down what Rick Ross was actually worth at his peak, because you need to understand the height of this before you can fully appreciate how far the fall has gone. At the top of his run, we are talking roughly around 2012 to 2016. Rick Ross had accumulated a net worth that multiple outlets estimated as somewhere between $75 million and $100 million. Now understand what that number actually represents. That is not just rap money. That is diversified, stacked, coming from multiple directions at the same time kind of money. His Maybach Music Group label was genuinely one of the most important imprints in hip-hop at that time. He had signed Meek Mill, Whale, Gunplay, and a roster of artists that were generating real cultural momentum and real revenue. The label deal he had with Warner Brothers was serious money on the business side. He had a Def Jam deal before that, which paid him well. His albums were moving units and generating streaming income. His touring income was substantial because people actually wanted to be in the building when Rick Ross performed. But it was not just music. Ross had a Wingstop franchise portfolio that he talked about constantly. And honestly, the Wingstop thing was a genuinely smart business move. At one point, he had reportedly over 24 Wingstop locations. And when Wingstop was growing the way it was growing, those franchises were printing money. He had real business infrastructure. He had endorsement deals. He had the Belaire Champagne partnership that generated real revenue and real visibility. And then there was the most famous symbol of all his wealth, the Promised Land, his mansion in Fayetteville, Georgia. Bro, this is not a house. This is a compound. 109 rooms, the largest swimming pool in the state of Georgia, its own go-kart track, dozens of acres of land, a property that has been valued at somewhere around $10 million and that Ross purchased for roughly $2 million in 2010, making it one of the genuinely smart real estate moves of his career. So at the peak, the picture looked like this: successful record label, multiple business ventures, Wingstop empire, a legendary mansion, touring income, endorsement money. Rick Ross was legitimately wealthy, The boss persona was backed at least partially by real numbers. So what happened? This is where it gets crazy. Let me break it down for y'all, because the story of how Rick Ross went from $100 million to the situation he is in right now is really a story about one thing above everything else: spending money to make other people feel small. No cap, Ross's entire financial philosophy for the better part of his career was not about building. It was about flexing. And there is a massive, massive difference between those two things. Building means you are using your resources to create systems that generate more resources. Flexing means you are using your resources to impress people who are not paying your bills. Rick Ross chose flexing loudly, repeatedly, and at enormous personal financial cost. Let's talk about the cars first, because this is one of the most documented areas of his spending. At various points, Ross has owned a collection of vehicles that includes multiple Rolls Royces, multiple Bentleys, a Lamborghini custom lowriders, and a range of other vehicles that each individually cost more than most people's houses. We are not talking about one or two nice cars for personal enjoyment. We are talking about an armada of vehicles accumulated specifically to be seen, specifically to be photographed, specifically to send a message to anyone watching that this man had more money than he knew what to do with. The jewelry situation.
I ain't gonna lie, man. If he own all them cars, man, he can sell cars, man, and bounce back. You know what I mean? And yeah, man, I didn't hear nothing about his house getting foreclosed on or nothing like that. And they talking about his worth 10 million, man. So it sounds like he can sell that and bounce back too. You know what I mean? It's hard to believe he like broke, man. But who knows, man? Sometimes in the industry, man, it's all about imagery for real.
Situation is similarly wild. Ross has spent millions, and I mean that literally, on jewelry throughout his career. Custom chains, diamond encrusted pieces, watches that cost more than most people's annual salaries. He wore it all constantly, documented all of it publicly, and made sure that everyone in his orbit understood at all times that he was operating at a different financial level than everyone else. But here is where the spending went from excessive to genuinely reckless: the lifestyle maintenance. Having a 109-room mansion sounds like an asset until you realize what it costs to maintain it. Staff, utilities, security, upkeep on a property of that size is not cheap. It is not even kind of cheap. People close to the situation have suggested that maintaining the promised land alone was costing significant money every single month. Money that was going out the door whether Ross was generating income or not. Add the private jet usage, the entourage costs, the constant travel, the recording costs, the label expenses, and you start to see a situation where the outflows were massive and the inflows, while once significant, were not keeping pace. That's actually crazy to think about when you lay it all out. $100 million, and it was not enough to sustain the lifestyle he built, because the lifestyle was never designed to be sustainable. It was designed to be impressive. And let's talk about the flexing specifically, because this is a core part of who Rick Ross built himself to be. And understanding it explains a lot about why his public image is taking the hits it is taking right now. Ross did not just flex on people in a general way. He was specific about it, deliberate about it. There is a long documented history of Ross using his wealth as a weapon to mock people who had less. His whole persona was built on making regular people feel like they were beneath him. The biggest boss energy was not just confidence, it was contempt. There was always this undercurrent in his music, his interviews, his social media presence that communicated a very clear message: I have money and you do not, and that makes me better than you.
I ain't gonna lie, man. He ain't lying, though, man. Rick Ross definitely like to try to stun on people, man. And yeah, man, I think it ain't nothing wrong with popping your ish or whatever, man. But Ross will go so far with it until it become like cringy or something a little bit, for real.
Y'all seeing this pattern, right? Because this matters for what comes next. When you build your entire identity on being richer than everyone around you, when you spend years looking down at people who fly commercial, people who cannot afford what you can afford, people who are not operating at your alleged financial level, and then you get caught in that same economy cabin that you spent years treating as a symbol of not being successful enough.
Man,
the fall is not just financial, it is symbolic. It is the exact kind of poetic justice that the internet was not going to let slide quietly.
I ain't gonna lie, man. It looked like he was high too. Looked like he had on a few layers, man. Had the hoodie on and everything. Looked like he ain't really want to be noticed for real. I'm surprised he didn't have a mask on or something. You know what I mean?
And it did not. Okay, so let's get into the economy class situation specifically because, bro, I'm not even lying. This is one of the wildest celebrity moments of the year, and it deserves its full flowers.
You're looking at
Photos
me.
and footage emerged of Rick Ross, the biggest boss himself, the man who has dedicated roughly 20 years of his public life to communicating that he moves exclusively in private aviation and first-class luxury. Sitting in a commercial economy seat, regular row, flying with regular people like a regular human being who does not own multiple private jets and a 109-room mansion. Oh my God, the internet went absolutely nuclear, and rightfully so, because this was not just a funny photo. This was a direct contradiction of the brand. This was the physical, visual, undeniable collapse of the image Ross has been selling people since he first started rapping about Maybachs and private planes. Fans were not just laughing. They were doing something more significant. They were connecting dots. They were looking at the economy seat photo and then looking at everything else happening around Ross right now and saying, wait a minute, is the biggest boss actually broke? So what was Ross's response? And this is where it gets good, gang. This is where it gets really good. Ross came out and said, wait for it, that he was flying commercial because his private jet was getting Starlink installed on it. I kid you not. His jet was getting Starlink put on it. That was the explanation. The Wi-Fi upgrade explanation. He needed satellite internet on his aircraft, so he hopped on a commercial flight in economy while the work was being done. Bro, let me count the ways this does not hold up for even 30 seconds of actual examination. First of all, if your jet is in the shop for any reason, what do? You charter another jet. That is what people with actual private jet money do. You pick up the phone, you call a charter company, you pay for a one-way flight on somebody else's aircraft, and you arrive at your destination without ever touching a commercial gate. This is not a complicated process. Charter flights exist specifically for this situation. And at the financial level Ross has always claimed to operate at, chartering a jet for a single flight is not even a meaningful expense. It is a rounding error. Second, even if for some reason chartering was not an option, which it absolutely is, you go first class. You go business class. You do not end up in economy on a commercial flight unless something is wrong that goes well beyond the Starlink installation. And the fans knew it. No cap, the reaction to his explanation was almost as funny as the original photos. People were not buying it at all. The comments were merciless. Everybody could see exactly what was happening. Ross got caught in a situation that contradicted his entire persona and reached for the first explanation that came to mind.
I ain't gonna lie, man. Looking at this though, man, maybe he is going broke or something, man. And yeah, man, he got that song Blowing Money Fast, man. He probably was really living by that, man. And yeah, man, I didn't even think about like maintaining that mansion, man, and like all electricity and all that, man. He probably paying a grip just on bills, man, for real. Yeah, man, it could be a possibility going broke. Remember back in the days, man, Hammer was super rich and still went broke, man. So when it come down to it, man, no matter how much money you got, man, they'll find a way for you to spend it, for real.
And the explanation was so transparently constructed, delivered with so much forced confidence that it actually made the whole thing worse. What really got people going was the energy behind the response. He did not come back with a laugh and own it. He did not play it off with humor. He came back hard, defensive, trying to make the Starlink story sound not just believable, but almost flex-worthy. Like getting internet put on your jet is itself a status symbol that proves how baller you are. And the harder he pushed the explanation, the less believable it got. Because real billionaire energy does not need to explain the economy seat. Real money just buys another plane ticket and moves on. The defensiveness was the tell. That is actually crazy to watch in real time. But wait, because the economy seat situation is not even the most damaging thing happening to Rick Ross's image and financial reputation right now. The ticket sales are. And this is where it gets genuinely insane. Rick Ross has been doing a tour, and the ticket sales have been, to be extremely generous, not great. We are talking about a situation where venues are not filling up, where the demand for Ross live in concert in 2024 and 2025 is a fraction of what it was at the peak of his career. And at one point, and this is real, this actually happened. His team ran a buy one, get one free promotion on the tickets. Y'all are not ready for how bad that looks for someone with Ross's history and persona. Buy one, get one free. on Rick Ross tickets, the biggest boss, the man who made a career out of telling people he does not negotiate,
The
he does
double
not
up.
discount, he does not come to where he is. The man whose entire brand is built on exclusivity and excess, and the idea that Rick Ross is a premium product that people should be grateful to have access to. Running a 2-for-1 deal on your concert tickets is the live event equivalent of a luxury car dealership putting a going out of business banner in the window.
Yeah, man, that's a fool with it, man. They saying that boy tickets ain't even selling, man. And I ain't gonna lie, man. I remember when Rick Ross was like first coming up, man. People really didn't feel Rick Ross like that. I think it was performing Push It to the Limit or something like that, man. He was somewhere and the crowd was dead, man. So yeah, to be honest, man, I think people really ain't like Rick Ross to begin with, you know what I'm saying? But he stayed consistent enough until he was like forced on us a little bit. I think Rick Ross do got some good tracks though, man. You know what I mean? Made quality music and stuff like that. But as far as his persona though, man, he do put a little extra on it though, man. And like I was saying, man, it ain't nothing wrong with popping your ish or whatever, man. But Ross definitely put too much on it, though, man. But yeah, man, if he is broke, then damn, man, for real, though. But yeah, man, let me know what y'all think in the comments, though, man. Y'all think Rick Ross really went broke, man? Or y'all think he just saving some money and he still got money or something, man? I don't know. But yeah, man, you watching the Big Bomber TV. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting. Until next time. All right.